Welcome to Wanna Be a Pro Wrestler. Me too, and today we're here to discuss the best ways to get your first pro wrestling booking. This is actually going to be our first live stream, so if there are people awake right now, which there shouldn't be, you guys should have jobs and you should be working. It's like Monday night, but we're here to discuss the first few ways that I was booked. And after I was trained, my trainer went into like full gimmick, shisty booker mode. Oh, okay. Now it's recording. Welcome to Wanna Be a Pro Wrestler. Me too. And today's topic is going to be the best ways to get your first pro wrestling booking. And through this, we're going to be going through my own personal experiences. And these are the ways that I was booked initially by 3 specific people. If you get trained at a legitimate school, the ideal way to get booked is to have your trainer begin to kind of push you guys out into being booked. But at the same time, you should also be doing ring crew on several different promotions. For me, my promoter, my trainer, ran his own promotion, and he was also willing to go the extra mile and do an academy type booking. So what he did was he said, okay, everybody, if you can get 10 people to come, after that, that'll be your pay. And the tickets were $10 or something. And from there, if you brought in more than 10 people, which is $100 paid to him, it literally went to him, or paid for the other trainer, the second trainer, Billy Blaze, you would make money. I think I made $20, so I think I had like 12 total sales, or I never gave it to him. I don't really know, to be honest. I couldn't tell you. If we were able to bring in more than that, though, we made money. So we technically could have made money on a booking, on our first booking. But what the whole plan was to book us against each other. So we would all have camp matches against each other. So there were maybe 7 guys total. And then we did like a battle royal. And then the winner of the battle royal would go on to face someone else. So you kind of like made do with what you had. He didn't bring anybody else in. The only person who wrestled on the show that wasn't a trainee was Billy Blaze. And that was my opponent. And I was handpicked. And I never thought about it then, but it kind of was a big deal for me to be able to wrestle someone that is better than me, not just someone that's a camp level better than me. It didn't necessarily teach me the most to work with him, but once I started to think about what he was saying, it made more sense long term. So if you're able to work alongside another student in a camp show, you'll be able to just go out and have the same match that you always have, and then you'll get X amount of feedback. I don't know if they really gave a lot of guys other feedback, but since I worked with Billy, I was able to get the feedback of, it was all good, but we needed to engage the crowd more, or we needed to make it more of a show for the crowd. And it kind of clicked in my head. I don't know when, but it must have been right away, because I finally understood that you can't just go through the motions of doing the moves. And there we go. You can't just go through the motions of doing the moves and expect a crowd reaction. You have to actually engage the crowd. They're there to want to be entertained. It's like when you go into a store and you say hi and no one else responds. You're like, weird. Why didn't they respond? So if the crowd is giving you something and they're cheering for you, yay, come on, Tomahawk, let's go. You want to give back to them because they're giving to you to give back. At a certain point, if they keep giving, they're going to get tired, they're going to get bored, they're not going to want to give anymore. they'll stop giving, and then at the end of your match, it'll go like that, kind of, if you're lucky, and then it'll drop off because they'll get bored. So that was the first way that I had one of my first matches. The second way that I had my first match is, since my trainer was a promoter in the local area, he booked a lot of people who were also bookers themselves. Excuse me. Pause for the cause. I hope this is working very well. I hope this isn't like laggy. It looks laggy on my part, but I'm going to watch it after this and say what's up. The second person to book me ever was Chris Jordan, and he booked for MIW, Minnesota Independent Wrestling. And he just booked a handful of guys into like a battle royal. Or no, it was a Royal Rumble. So it was 2 guys start, and then throughout 2-minute periods, guys come in, do some stuff, get out. Come in, do some stuff, get out. So it was a really nice flow, if you will. It kind of hides all of our flaws of maybe not being the most accurate storytellers, but it allowed us to get that ring time. And that's actually one thing that I didn't think about talking about until now. If you have the opportunity to get some ring time in ring, and you're going to be a counselor, an advocate, whatever Paul Heyman calls himself these days, and just be a manager, being out there and being around the ring in and of itself is an experience that's helpful. I was also able to be like a zombie, and it wasn't paid. We got paid pizza, old pizza, but old pizza at 10:30 at night after doing ring crew tastes pretty damn good. But the more ring experience you can get, you go in, you take a bump, you be an extra, you get tossed out right away. It allows you to start to acclimate yourself into being in the ring. So you're like, and then you feel it, and then you start to adjust over time. And it takes years. And some people, it doesn't take that long, but for most people, it takes a long time. So like when athletes start to see stuff in slow motion, if you're a legitimate basketball player, football player, and you start to see the gaps, and you can kind of start to alleviate some of that initial stress of being in a performance, once that goes away, it starts to get you to the next level. People always talk about the next level like it's a thing, and it is, but it's also not a thing at the same time. But once we were training, and let's put it like this. We were training, and my trainer brought in some guys to work with us. Sometimes he brought in Ari Daivari, Sean Daivari. He's brought in Chris Jordan. He's brought in Mitch Paradise. He's brought in Eddie Sharkey. He brought in Eric Redbeard, who's from the Wyatt family, who's known as Eric Rowan, to work with our big guy, because honestly, not many big guys know how to work like big guys. They all want to have fun. They all want to bump around, and that's fine. But you need to learn from a big guy if you're going to be a big guy. It helps. And I'm sure Lore appreciated it as well. But once Chris Jordan kind of worked with everybody and seeing who could do what and who could make them look good, he had booked us into the Battle Royal, the Royal Rumble. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be one or the other. You'll be lucky to get in either one. And they just want to make sure that you're safe. Because if someone comes back with a big bloody nose, or you broke your leg getting tossed over the top rope, then you're probably not going to be the most safe worker, or there'll be some questions about it and like what happened, where was the miscommunication, and then they'll be able to process it from there. I've never seen anyone like get severely hurt in a Battle Royal Rumble and come back and have to explain what happened, but I'm sure that's a part of the process. It only makes sense. I really hope this is recording, you guys. That would suck if it's not. And then For the next way that I was booked, I was already doing ring crew. I was already going once a month to a promotion before I had even been cleared to perform by my trainer. I would go every month. At first, I went to Battleground, and in St. Paul, which is where I'm based, kind of sort of at the time it was only 10 minutes from my house, and I didn't really understand how that kind of stuff worked, but I went, I set up, I had made plans after I set up, and then once the show started, I would leave. And that was the only time I've ever done that, and I've never done it again. No one ever told me not to do it after that, which is kind of bad, and it sucks because someone should have told me, but they probably didn't know that I didn't know. So they honestly might not have even noticed, but I did ring crew, and then I left. But usually you want to stay, watch the show, don't get drunk, don't be an idiot. Watch the show, tear down, go introduce yourself to the promoter if you haven't already. There's plenty of time throughout the day, but they're worrying about 6 other things. Go say, hi, my name is this. It was a fun show. I can't wait to be back next month. I would love to come help you guys. And it depends on if you're booked or not booked, but you're approved to work. At a certain point, you'll be booked to work. And once you are, it helps to have someone put in a word for you. So I had Giant Griffin, and he had so much potential. He was such a fun character, so many different things. I actually won my first title from Griffin and Cody Rice with Cal Creed, the tag team championships of Battleground. That was my first title. Wait. That was my own title. Well, I've won those twice, so it doesn't count. But either way, championships don't matter. But it's kind of fun to think about. It's fun to reminisce. People always want to say that I'm the champion, or I was the champion for X amount of months. But I had Griffin put in a word for me. He's like, hey, this is the best bumper I've ever known. He didn't have to say that. He just put it out there for himself because that was his opinion. He said, hey, this is a good guy. He's willing to work. And then this was actually at the time of them doing their Royal Rumble. And he said, okay, I'm full tonight, but we'll see what we can do next time. And I was like, okay, I didn't expect anything. Hopefully, I was hoping to get booked. And honestly, truthfully, I should have been booked because the people that they did book were not as good as I was. But I didn't make a big scene about it. I didn't go complain, you guys suck. You guys are awful. You're the shits. Even though everyone knew that it was true that they were the shits. It was bad sometimes. I mean, you get 25 guys, 20 guys, 30 guys. It can get bad. But it doesn't matter. As long as you are professional and you're consistent, things will work out for you more often than not. But one day, I was just at my house, just hanging out, going to work, going to the gym, going to camp. I was messaged and asked if I wanted a booking for Battleground. And I was like, yeah, I do. Sure, Pro Wrestling Battleground. Why wouldn't I want to be a part of there? So they booked me, and then I had been booked for like a year straight. So it worked out pretty well long term for myself. But I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity if I hadn't gone there and seen a lot of people and introduced myself and helped with ring crew and been a silent presence, if it will. Because I don't know who put in a word for me besides Griffin. Maybe somebody else did. They said, hey, this guy's always here. He's always helpful. He's nice. He's not rude. He doesn't get drunk and be obnoxious. He's trained. That's probably the most important thing. He has gear. And he's a nice person, and he deserves a shot, because once they can at least give you a shot, it's up to you to make it or break it, if that makes sense. So that was the 3 ways that I was booked initially, but I want to give an extra one because I think this one is also important, And this doesn't happen all the time. I know for people that are in the US, it's hard to get out of state bookings. But sometimes it comes down to the right place, right time. And that was how it worked for me. I only had 7 matches at the time, but I had been messaged by Darius Martin, Airwolf, and he said, hey, these guys have someone who dropped out. And it was actually Oren Veit who had dropped out. I don't know if he had an injury or what happened, but it was within an hour of deciding yes or no, and you're leaving. I had just gotten home from work. I showered, and it was time for me to pack up and go. Because I said yes, of course I would. But unfortunately, it was North Dakota, so North Dakota. But seriously, like, it's an out of state. It's 6, 7, almost 8 hours away. It's a memory that I have that I haven't forgotten, and it's something that I've always appreciated, that Darius went out of his way to throw my name in there, because I don't think he could take the booking. But at the time, the promotion was called, oh my God, I can't remember. Fast forward like 10 seconds so I can remember, please. Hold on, I'm going to Google this. I don't remember anything. I forgot this was live. Fully Loaded Wrestling. I didn't even find it, and I already remembered. So Fully Loaded. They went out of business, unfortunately, due to, I don't know. I never got paid for the last show I worked for them, but, next time I'll steal a ring post if I have learned my lesson. But yeah, so my first out-of-state venture, I went with TJ, who's known as Letter Literacy. And it was my first time being on the road for several hours. It was a weekend-long adventure. It was one of the funnest times, if you can say that was a word. It was one of my most fun experiences that I'll always cherish. I worked with somebody, Walker. I forget his name, but he's on my Facebook page. I have him. He's funny. He's nice. He's fun. But just going out there and getting to experience that this isn't the only place that you'll ever wrestle, and you have more opportunities than this, it allowed me to put things into perspective of, I want to go to Chicago. I want to go to Iowa. I want to go to Mississippi. I want to go to New York. And it starts to allow you to create more goals and more realistic goals, because once you start to extrapolate that, you start to get bigger and bigger goals. But for me, that wasn't the end of my line, but I wasn't able to capitalize on this more than getting a few more bookings out of it. So once I got a few more bookings out of this, what I should have honestly done is I should have started to talk to other people that worked in Nebraska. And that would have been the next place for me to go, because Jason Strife was out there, Duke was out there, and there were so many other people that were out there that were Midwest local. I would have benefited a lot just from being able to be around these type of people, because they have experience. They know how to wrestle. They know more than how to wrestle. They know how to get over, and they know how to be a character. And then from there, maybe I could have done X, Y, and Z. But okay, I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm happy about everyone's success. And I know that it stems from me not being able to drive. And I've gone through my anxiety of it. I've been driving for a while. I'm getting my license soonish, hopefully. And from there, the world is your oyster, so to speak. So once you can start to get that momentum, you have to keep going off of it. So you think you're busy now, you'll get busier and busier and busier and busier, because it's way harder to steer a parked car than it is to steer a car that started moving. And I want to thank you guys for being here. The best 3 ways to get booked as a beginner pro wrestler right after pro wrestling training is to know somebody, be there, and get lucky. That's really it.